Hey, good day, champions. This is Noble Mike Jamison dialed into you today from a satellite office. I'm actually not in my home office today, but I will not miss the opportunity to jump on and really share some valuable content and information with you today. Here's what I'm excited about, right? First of all, I'm always excited about another game time series because it's gives me an opportunity to really share some things that I think are critically important and valuable to the community. Okay, so if I have a little background noise, please excuse it. um, I'm at the pool right now, with an opportunity to enjoy some of the benefits of the lifestyle. Okay, but nevertheless, we all have these smartphone devices, and you can't be a smartphone owner and then be a dumb person, right? And I'm really talking to myself. So I really take pride in making sure that I'm as well as educated and do my part to make sure that I have the tenacity to continue to learn. And so, what I wanted to talk about today was making sure that we don't underestimate the power of debt. Okay, and that's why I wanted to title this series, this broadcast, "Don't Fall for the Debt Scam," because as soon as you mention the word debt, it automatically has a negative connotation attached to it, and that's not always the case. Okay, because you'll hear people in business talk about OPM, other people's money. What is that? That's debt. Okay, in terms of buying a traditional business, in terms of doing some things in the business world, they always talk about OPM, other people's money. Well, if you're utilizing OPM for other people's money, then that's debt. Okay, but it's not bad debt, it's good debt. And so what we want to do is we want to talk about making sure that people know the difference, and if in position to take advantage of good debt. Okay, so don't fall for the debt scam. Okay, number one, we all have learned from Dr. Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant that we should be on the right side of that quadrant where we are leveraging money or we're leveraging people with our social entrepreneurial networks. Okay, but if you are focused on the 4%, right? Because we know the right side is the top 5%. But in that right side, in terms of the top 5%, 4% of those are leveraging networks, the social entrepreneurial network, 4%. But the 1% are leveraging money. So there's a very small percentage of people globally that are taking advantage of the I quadrant, the investor quadrant. And so our goal is to help as many people as possible rise to the 1%. Okay, rise to the 1%, and that's where the conversation is being had about OPM and other concepts for leveraging money. Excuse me. And so and so what we want to do is we want to talk about, first of all, what's bad debt. Okay, in my opinion, bad debt is debt that doesn't yield a dividend, interest, or return. Okay, bad debt is debt that doesn't yield dividends, interest, or ROI, a return on your investment. Okay, so there's a lot of things that can fall into that category. Now, I'm a big fan of celebrating small wins. I'm a big fan of treating yourself, but it comes with limitations. So, if you are living check to check, then a 200, 300, $400 pair of shoes is probably bad, right? Uh, 500, $1,000, $1,500 purse is probably bad. Okay, and so we want to really reframe our thinking in terms of how we allocate the resources that we do have to make sure that we're not accumulating this bad debt that can actually come with making poor decisions. Okay, bad debt comes from making poor decisions, and so what we want to do is we want to shift the thinking, okay, and shift from making poor decisions, whether it's shoes, whether it's purses, whether it's prematurely refurnishing your living room, or whatever the case may be. All right, especially if you don't know how to do it and write it off. Right? That's a whole nother conversation. But nevertheless, we want to really recondition our thinking to where we are accumulating good. Write this down. Debt capital. Okay, debt capital. Okay, here's why this is important to you. You want to accumulate debt capital because there's a formula that I want to give you today. Okay, there's an actual formula that I want to give you today. All right, so let's first of all, we're going to eliminate the bad debt. First of all, if you have bad debt, the first thing you want to do is focus on how can I get rid of the bad debt. Okay, how can I get rid of the bad debt? It's no problem. You may do a combination of things. You may go through a credit program that can help you do some debt consolidation if needed. All right. And then maybe you can take some of those additional resources that you may have accumulated through that process and start allocating it towards what we're going to talk about right now. So here's the formula that I want you to follow. It's very, very simple. Okay. The first thing you do is you obtain debt capital. Don't obtain bad debt, obtain debt capital. Okay. So maybe that's a short-term loan, 6 months, 12 months, okay, or something along those lines. Maybe that's a credit card that you can do a cash withdrawal from, okay? But you want to obtain what I'm referring to as debt capital, okay? Now, once you obtain the debt capital, you're gonna use the debt capital to purchase an asset. This is key. You're not using the debt capital to purchase something that's not going to yield a dividend, interest, or ROI. You're going to use the debt capital to purchase an asset. Okay, an asset is something that's going to yield a dividend, interest, or ROI. Follow me here. So the asset is being purchased with the debt capital. OPM, other people's money. You follow? Okay. And so now once you purchase the asset, now make sure you do your proper research and investigation on the type of asset that can yield a dividend, interest, or return. Right? That part has to be vetted. But now what you're going to do is you're going to use the asset to increase your profits. Right? You're going to use the asset to increase your profits. Remember, profits is a formula as well. It's your revenue minus your expenses equals your profits. Right? You just don't automatically get an asset and you write into the profits. No, it's profits has a formula. It's your revenue minus your expenses equals your profits. And so what you want to do, see, part of your expenses is going to be the servicing of the debt capital. Right? That's part of your expenses is what does it cost me weekly, monthly to service the debt capital that I got? That's part of your expenses. Okay. Now the asset is going to be kicking off revenue in the form of dividends or interest. Okay. And so what's happening is that you want that asset, the revenues from the asset, and you're going to subtract the expenses. And part of those expenses will be the servicing of the debt capital. And that's going to produce the profits, which is the extra stuff. Okay. That's going to include the profits, which is the extra stuff. So the debt capital is used to purchase assets. The assets will produce a dividend or interest payment. Okay. And you're going to use the profits from the assets to pay off the debt capital. So the profits from the assets will pay off the debt capital, and then you rinse and repeat. The idea is that you'll be in position to purchase more assets, right? So the more assets that you have, the more profits you can create. And then at some point, you'll create a snowball to where the assets are not only paying off the debt capital, but they're also covering your living expenses, and then ultimately putting you in a position to where you have long-term savings, long-term investments, et cetera, et cetera. That's the equation. It's very simple. Okay. So let's repeat. We're not going to focus on bad debt because we don't want any of that. Okay. What we want is debt capital. We want to use the debt capital to purchase assets. We want to use the assets to pay to create profits. We want to create the profits to pay off the debt capital, and ultimately fund our lifestyle and careers. Life is what we have. Style is how we choose to live it. And so we're excited about that because we get an opportunity to readjust our thinking and our philosophies for doing exactly what I just shared with you. Okay, exactly what I just shared with you. It's a simple formula. Okay, so let's get rid of the bad debt habits, the things that create the bad debt, and let's focus on debt capital. Okay, let's focus on debt capital and utilizing that debt capital the right way, because ultimately these assets are going to be responsible for helping create your freedom. Okay, so just imagine if right now it's just you who's responsible for getting up and working and paying the bills for your household. It's just you. You're by yourself. Okay, you're the only asset, meaning you go to work, you get the W-2, 1099. You're the only asset. And if you don't get your asset out of bed, then no one gets paid. That's not the problem that you want. So just imagine in being in a position to purchase your first asset. So now it's you plus one asset. So in other words, that asset is going to get up and go to work just like you do. That asset is going to produce a profit just like you do. This is why one of our mentors used to always say profits are better than wages, because the profits are end result of you deducting your expenses from your revenue. Profits will always be better than wage, because the wage is something you have to go out and continuously work for, and profits is the results of something that has already been worked for. You follow? It's amazing. And so imagine it's you plus one asset. That asset gets up and goes to work just like you do. That asset brings in profits to the household just like you do. But guess what? You don't have to feed the asset. The asset doesn't literally have to walk through the door. The asset doesn't have to use the bathroom. And so it's amazing. It's almost like having another person live with you, but don't live with you, right? And now you start to add to that community, your home, another asset. So you got three, you plus two assets, three of y'all now. And then it's you plus three and you plus four. You get it? And so at some point, you don't even need to be there, right? You will start setting up a trust, and now the assets will pay into the trust, and the trust will pay you. We're going somewhere with this. Okay. So there's definitely levels to what I want to share with you. But this is the very beginning. It's starting out where you are right now. And so if you're not in a position to where you can take advantage of the I quadrant as an investor and rise to the 1%, let's focus on eliminating the bad debt, utilizing debt capital to start this cycle, and then you only rinse and repeat. So debt capital, purchase assets, assets create profits, profits pay off the debt capital, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. All right. So a very simple lesson I want to share with you today. Hey, listen, I am having the benefit of enjoying a mobile lifestyle at this point, right? But it's no fun if you're not able to share and impart upon others ways that they can do the exact same thing. And that's really what we're all about. Okay. So listen, this is another episode of Game Time with Noble Mike Jamison. Stay plugged in, stay connected, and we look so forward to seeing you on the beaches of the world or at the bank.